What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer taking a look at this ABC Cyberdark deck, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to go through the cards, explain kind of where this crazy theory comes from, and then I'll show you a couple of gameplay videos at the end. If you want to look more at this deck, I did do a combo tutorial video. I will put that somewhere in the description or probably in the comment section if you guys want to see more of what this deck can do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So the one Therian King Regulus, this is essentially searchable off of the field spells. There's a big little Synchro engine that does have to do with the Strudo. Basically, Ancient Fairy Dragon can just get you to another part of your engine, which is really, really cool. The brick in the deck, Union Driver, it stinks to see, but it's obviously like an essential piece of the puzzle. One copy of Stardust Synchron, so this is kind of chaotic, it's a little bit weird, but it does help you get into Ancient Fairy. It's another way to do it other than just having, your Dragon's Ravine, which you don't always want to rely on. I'll show you how it works if you didn't see the combo videos. It's really funny, but it is a light machine tuner that can become a level 7 through its own devices. It's a very cool little combo. One copy of Gold Gadget. This is something that is searchable. Every once in a while, you do want to search it off of your gear Gigant X, and it comes up every once in a while. Otherwise, it's just an extender that you see in your hand. It brings out level 4 machines. Maybe something you can develop more, like in your own build. I pretty much tried to mess around as a rank 4 engine because almost every important card in this engine is a rank 4, but didn't work out. I couldn't access the engine enough. If the ABC pieces had the clause if sent to the graveyard, unfortunately, it does have to be sent from field to graveyard to activate their effects, so that's like really unfortunate, but like I said, sometimes it does pop up if you have extra pieces in your hand and you need another rank 4. This card's like really, 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 really good for that. This is always the copies I've ran when it comes to the Union, basically like engine. 1 copy of Assault, 2 copies of Bee-Buster, and 1 copy of Sea Crush, because the reality is these cards are bad by themselves, I mean to say. Together they can combo together, but you never really want to see too many pieces in your hand because they're just bodies, right? They don't special summon themselves. They can't really do anything in the hand. So I think the least amount you play is good, especially just because you can get to Union Hanger a lot of the times. It's like a very easily accessible in this deck, so that's kind of why I do it like that. 1 copy of Cyberdark Chimera. This is one of the newer ones. This came out from that structure deck. Does search Power Bond. Unfortunately, does lock you into fusion summoning using only Cyber Machine monsters. So if you activate this effect to search Power Bond, you cannot go into ABC that turn. Not always the biggest deal, to be honest with you. Sometimes you have combos, and you'll see that in the gameplay video, where you are able to set up a pretty decent board, maybe 3 interruptions, 3 good interruptions, 3, 4. And then the follow-up is that you'll have these cards in the graveyard for ABC Dragon Buster, and that's obviously like really good, right? It's like some of the best follow-up that you could ever have. Sometimes you can do both. Sometimes you can summon out, the Cyberdark Machine Monster and ABC Dragon Buster with the right hand. It just kind of depends. Now here are like the regular cards, right? Cyberdark Horn and Keel. Very bad cards. They desperately need retrains. They need to basically have the effect of Chimera that when it's sent to the graveyard, it also sends another one. Very important thing to know about this card is it is sent to the graveyard. So if you do have it as material for an XYZ summon, for example, pretty much the only example I should say, is Gear Gigant X. If you were to attach material to search another copy of one of your other machines, namely Keel or Horn, well then you're off to the races. And that's a very good thing because you'd attach to search one and this also Foolish Burial. So it's actually worth basically three bodies if you play your hand right, which is very important because the Cyberdark monster fusions require like 5 Cyberdarks, and that is the problem of the deck. A cannon is really good. It's basically just a free send to the graveyard, right, to send more Cyberdarks. Almost always it's going to search Chimera. And then Claw. Claw is an incredible card too, so it works perfectly within the archetype. You could discard it, and that helps you search out something like Cyberdark Realm, which is really cool. Okay. This is Dragunity Remus. Remus helps you search Dragon's Ravine. That's its use. Cyberdark Core. This also searches you Cyberdark Realm. It can search you Invasion. You'll never ever use this card, unfortunately. Hopefully with the new wave of support, you can. We'll see. It has the potential to be good, right? it can pop a card on the field, but a lot of the times it's just used as a searchable discard fodder. Maybe something you can cut because you can just also search extra copies of Realm. I'm not sure. Power Bond, basically, Chimera lets you banish materials instead, which is the only way to ever use this card. Here's the new card that I think is coming out. It was revealed, Shadow's Light. You target a dark monster, you special summon a light with the same level and attribute. So the idea is that the Cyberdark engine gives you access to Ancient Fairy Dragon. So how it works is you target, like I said, normally it's a dark level machine 4, but you're almost always going to search Chimera. And then you can special summon Synchron from the deck. Synchron then searches you Stardust Illumination. You can use the effect of Chimera to discard a spell card, which is going to be this, to the graveyard. And then you get to search Power Bond. So it's like a really good combo there. And then Stardust Illumination lets you banish, target the Stardust Synchron, decrease its level by 1, making it a 3. So then you can go into a level 7 Synchro like Ancient Fairy Dragon, which works out pretty well. I think that's a pretty cool combo. It works really well with Cyberdarks, obviously. 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Cyberdark Realm is a 3-of, right? It just searches you and gets you into your engine, helps with Shadow's Light. I did want to mention Shadowlight can also be used with Ancient Pixie Dragon. It's a really, really awesome combo that I think is actually necessary because you don't ever want this card to be dead in your hand or like the least amount possible. Basically, instead of going into Ancient Fairy Dragon, you go into Ancient Pixie Dragon. Then you can activate the effect of Shadow's Light, which will summon Ancient Fairy, right? Ancient Fairy Dragon doesn't have any effects when Synchro summoned. It just has 2 really good effects that you can use anytime. So you can cheat it out. Basically, what it also gives you is a free draw, right? When you activate a field spell, which will be searched off the Ancient Fairy Dragon, you can draw a card, and then you can obviously use the Ancient Fairy Dragon for the other effect to special summon a level 4 monster, and then you can overlay those into this card, the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider. This is a quick effect, pop a face-up card on the field. So you just get so much advantage from it, and it like creates a much higher ceiling for Shadow's Light. You don't get to use it every time, but sometimes you do, and you're really happy when you get to. Dragon's Ravine, I've kind of talked about that, right? It sends Destrudo, which helps you get an Ancient Pixie. 1 copy of Therion, just kind of depends if you need it. So you have a lot of access to tuners now, so you might not always need Dragon's Ravine. And then, just Coliseum is a good card to have. I don't think you ever should need to have multiple copies because you never want to really have a chance to ever draw both of these in the same because this is your only Therion monster. You just kind of want to be able to choose it when you can. And 3 copies of Union Hanger, no surprises there. And then Cyberdark Invasion. Onto the extra deck, you have Darkness Dragon, which is the Omni-Negate. I don't run any other Cyberdark monsters, so it is what it is. The other one's just a towers. It's like almost impossible to get to unless you're like only have Cyberdarks in your deck. But I kind of wanted to make Cyberdarks as useful as possible. And I really do think this is like pretty much as of right now the best variation of how to use it. I hope in the future there's more Cyberdark monsters. Maybe don't need 5 Cyberdark effect monsters. That's kind of like extreme, of course. But we'll see. It kind of works for now. It's a very powerful Omni-Negate, and it is what it is. So I've messed around with my extra deck a lot. And one card I think that is really cool to have, and as I've actually been playing this, and one of them being against Sky Striker, I really wish I had Mega Fleet. I had this in my graveyard. It lets you banish and special summon another copy of itself. And, if I had this, I pretty much would have won the duel hands down. My opponent wouldn't really have had a chance. So this is obviously a very good form of removal. That's kind of something I've specialized in this deck is non-targeting removal, which is really important. This is one way to do it. There's one other way, which I'll show you. 2 copies of ABC Dragon Buster. You do want 2 copies for the follow-up. Before I kind of just had these combos and I wanted to do like the highest ceiling possible. But then there's also this reality where you're playing these duels and you kind of just need more follow-up in different forms. And again, I'll kind of explain my tech choices. Because I had for a while like Photon Dragon, which inserts Galaxy Soldier. And you want to have synergy with Gear Gig and X. And you want to maybe go into F-Zero. And that'd be like really, really good. And maybe you can find a way to do it, but Galaxy Soldier a lot of times I found was dead by that time, right? You're going to use these rank 4s, using your B-Buster Drake and everything like that. You're not going to have so many rank 4s in your hand, and, the only reason this is good is with Union Hanger. You could put this in easily. You can take out a couple of cards here and there, whatever you think, and play this and maybe go into Nova and Infinity, different variations. But I think at least the way I think is that the simpler the better. What can you use more often than not? And this is kind of how the extra deck came out. But yeah, you definitely want to be able to do this twice Talked about Ancient Fairy Dragon, really good pairing with Ancient Pixie Dragon. Talked about the Darkest Dragon, Doom Rider. Gear Gigan X is so cool just because, like I said, you can overlay with Chimera, detach to search, either Keel or Horn, their machines, and that'll also trigger Chimera to send another one to the graveyard. Very important. And then you can just link this off. Speaking of untargeting, this is another card I've been talking about, Underworld Goddess. So many times you're going to have something like Platinum Gadget and IP Masquerade on your board, and it just really leaves you open for Underworld, and most people don't play around this card. It's pretty much unplayable around, right? It's a really good form of removal. It's also negate, and if you use it with IP Masquerade, it also can't be destroyed by card effects, so lots of really good things. It's something that as I played it more, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like a necessary inclusion to have. Access Code Talker is something that I also added late. Just you're going to have a lot of materials and you want to be able to end games, and this is one of the best ones at doing that. Appaloosa, it works really well with ABC Dragon Buster. If you get there, sometimes you have a lot of materials that you need to get off the board, and this is a good option to do that. This is kind of like a random one, right? Because I have all these other like sub-engines to play, and if you only have one space, if like this is a decent one, it's just 3 effect monsters, which you always have. And like I said, you always have these awkward bodies lying around that don't have synergy anywhere else, like Cyber Dragon Core and just a few other cards. You'll see it. Every hand's a little bit different, but back row is definitely a big problem, and you can basically, go into Topologic Trisbane and then summon ABC Dragon Buster. It can work out that way, and this is a card that I wish I had a few times. I feel like it's a good one-of slot to have. You can easily take this out and put whatever you think is good there, another Nightmare card or something like that, but this is something I like to have. Nightmare Unicorn, Platinum Gadget, and then IP Masquerena. I've honestly thought about playing multiple IP Masquerenas because there's lots of like really good targets to do it with, but this is how I have it now. This is obviously not the perfect list, but I think if you want to get started playing this, I think this is a great list to start with. So let's go ahead and go into the replays here. This is against Agadodic, which of course is kind of the whole point. It's a very casual deck, but this is a really, really, really good opening, of course. So Claw can go ahead and search me an extra copy. I already did have Realm in my hand. Someday this card will be usable, and it's going to be really good. I can't wait. There really just needs to be a Cyberdark fusion that basically summons itself by banishing the materials. You don't use polymerization. Something like that, or like less materials. All the things can kind of work, but didn't use the effective Union Hanger to search. So you don't always want to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and search both copies, and I kind of have my ABC lines open. I may not be able to use it, go into ABC Dragon Buster, and you'll see why in a second. But these are non-once per turn summon, if you can get them like that. And this still has its Omni Negate, doesn't make it any different. So I want to go into, say, ABC Dragon Buster right now, and I could, but I also want to use Chimera because, ABC Dragon Buster is just there. If the cards are in the graveyard, you can use them. And it's also really good to attach them. So while you want to be able to go into both, sometimes you can't. Sometimes just follow up. Like I said, I could have gone to ABC Dragon Buster, but then this line is just kind of dead. Once this hits the graveyard, there's really nothing much you can do to recur it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sacrifice here, and then I can go into gear, like I've been talking about, the deck profile, detaching, searching the last piece, and then this is going to Foolish Burial 1. That way I can go into Power Bond, and then I can use this as an Omni Negate. And I did attach, B Buster Drake, so it's unaffected by spell effects. So Dark Ruler and more wouldn't do anything. So my opponent's going to go for Fossil Dig. He goes for Scrap Reactor. So in order for it not to get destroyed, I can just go into Underworld. And I thought he was playing Dinos too, so I thought, oh, this is a great card for Misk, essentially the best one that you can do. He activates Small World, which is great for me. One less card in his hand than I have to worry about. He's going to keep sending stuff, and this does have a Graveyard Negate, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it there. I still have 2 Omni Negates on the board, which is nice, and plus all the ABC pieces are also in the graveyard. So that's really good follow-up. And then I just have one more, and then this is against Rescue Ace. I think it's a very similar kind of setup, but I do have access to Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is pretty cool. Claw, again, when you see Claw, it's just great because that gives you, that basically is the only way that you can get real access to what you need to. Because if you just have, if you just had Cannon, you'd be basically one Cyberdark short from the fusion. And when you're doing your plays, you almost always want to go into the non-Cyberdark side as fast as you can. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. In this case, I can. So Dragon's Ravine, I'm going to go ahead and send this. Go for Destrudo. I have Therius King Regulus in my hand, which is really nice. When I go for Pixie, I still have access to the Cyberdark side because you need to have a spell or trap to discard for Chimera. So that's going to be, obviously, my Disc Coliseum. So much material on the board, I can go for Platinum, right? Just want to have access to all my ABC pieces here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my extra normal summon. That's going to go into IP Masquerena, discard for Power Bond. And now I can go into gear, discarding just like last time. I think this is pretty much the same setup. And there we go. There's my Omni Negate. So I have 2 Omni Negates plus IP Masquerena. Really good follow-up. Opponent's going to start there. Again, this is something that you don't really want to leave on the field. Everyone's playing Triple Tactics Talent right now, so Omni Negates are like at an all-time importance. And I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that there. You can't really get over anything on my board, and I'm off to the races after that. But yeah, that is ABC Cyberdarks. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.